Hello and welcome to the Game Theory Podcast. I'm your host, Sam Vicini. We're presented by CLNS Media. Today on the show, he's back. He's back in America.
Hi.
He survived Uruguay. He survived Argentina.
I did.
It's Dieter Kurtenbach from over at the Mercury News in the Bay Area. Dieter, how are you doing, man?
I'm very tired, Sam. I got off of 14 hours of flying a plane. I didn't fly it. Someone else did. But 14 hours of air travel yesterday. And then I made the mistake of going to Warriors Raptors in person. I'm incoherent. Pardon?
Did you leave early at least like the rest of the Warrior fans?
No, because the one thing I didn't write until the morning. Usually I'll write when I get back and I'll write until like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. I decided no, I'm too tired. I'm going to do that. But I have to do a video for Mercury News website and YouTube page and all that stuff of like my 3 breakdowns, my hot take off of the game. And that doesn't happen until after we do all the press conferences. So I'm just sitting there listening to the Warriors have to explain how they don't care without saying that they don't care. And I'm just like sipping tea and making fun of stuff next to Nick Friedel. It was actually a good time. It was like good to be back into the rhythm of things. But I realized afterwards, I'm not sure if I said one coherent thing for that entire existence. So hopefully that changes here, but no guarantees.
How pumped are you that during your departure from the country, Stephen Curry decided to break the internet by saying the moon landing wasn't real?
Okay, I am so done with this game.
I knew it. I knew I would get you going on this.
The Kyrie thing, he legitimately said it. Listen, no one believes anything. But if you are, I guess, informed, quote unquote, enough to say it, you obviously you're giving it credence, right? And so what Kyrie did was in many ways brilliant, but also totally despicable, which is he believes the flat earth thing to whatever degree you can believe it. He keeps going and going and going, and then eventually changes the story to be it was all a joke. Joke's on you guys. You aggregated the shit out of that, you morons. And now the joke's on the media, even though they're just sort of reporting on this ridiculous, ignorant thing that a guy that went to Duke for at least a year said. It is newsworthy to whatever degree anything is newsworthy anymore. And now Kyrie has this righteous indignation and plausible deniability for any story that he doesn't want out, because it's you can't trust the media. They're the ones who reported that I thought the earth was flat, and I was totally joking. And Steph pulled the same shit within a 48-hour time span. It's I was totally joking about that. And it's listen, that's at least a well-treaded conspiracy theory. We've talked about that on this show. Mm-hmm. But the fact that Steph's I was clearly joking. It's no, you fucking weren't. I listened back to that 3 times. You weren't joking at all, but I'm not going to play the game, because the second you get into it is the second that they go, totally joking, your joke's on you guys, everyone's a moron, can't understand it. And it's just so goddamn stupid.
So here's where I'm at on all of it. I am just here for all of the jokes in the memes of Stephen Curry wearing a spacesuit, going to the basket, and driving toward the rim. It's all so dumb, because here's the deal.
It's so dumb.
Either he's joking and he should be able to take a joke, right? He should be able to laugh at this with us, right?
Right.
Or he's not joking and should get made fun of. So
Correct.
The best way to handle all this is just making jokes.
Right. And I think
that is the clearest way.
But I'm in a tricky situation, because obviously I'm here for the jokes in 99% of everything. But I have to look Steph Curry in the eye almost every day. And I know, they know what I say. And so it's this whole thing of I have to kind of tread lightly. And so it's just also very frustrating, because I listened back to it. Someone sent it to me and they're okay, here's the clip. And I listened back to it, and then I listened to the longer clip, and I'm it's flippant, but this isn't some yeah, we didn't land on the moon. He wasn't saying it sarcastically. He was just yep. And okay, fine. It doesn't matter what Steph Curry thinks about that. Fuck no. But
no, that's also where I'm at too. I don't care what Stephen Curry thinks about this.
I mean, now that Neil deGrasse Tyson is disgraced, we do need someone to fill the space community vacuum, and maybe it can be Steph Curry. But I'm hoping that we get someone who, a little bit more scientific. But the second it happened, I just go, you get into this, you're gonna end up on the wrong side of it, because he can control the narrative about it, and it's just let's just stop playing this fucking game. it pissed me off as like Neiman Lab in Tampa, fucking journalism professor here. Like, it pissed me off because I'm like, I know exactly how this fucking plays out. I'll be back in 2 days to see how it exactly played out. And sure enough, here it is.
Yeah, no, it's like I get that we live in a culture where like what Stephen Curry says matters, and kids listen to him,
right,
and all of this stuff. And we're coming off of a storyline where like a kid sent him a note. And it was about the fact that I guess
by the way, a storyline that Steph was like, and listen, I'm all for athletes self-promoting, like all that crap,
right?
But like, oh my God, are we sure? Steph is the one who proliferated it.
I'm here for it though. That does not bother me. I think it's
fine.
Great.
That's fine. Let's just remember the source of the news.
Right.
Like Steph could have done that. Steph might do it 1,000 times without anyone noticing. But in this situation, he's the one who decided to show everybody that, look at how nice of a guy I am. And that is part of the brand. He is a very nice guy. I got no problems with Steph. And like,
no question. And we're coming off of this storyline where he clearly does matter to kids, right? Like we're not like making this up.
More than most.
The way that this storyline always ends up going is people always make fun of the athlete for saying something like this. And then it ends up just creating a circumstance where these scientists get a chance to educate everyone about everything. So that's just the way that these media cycles go now.
Well,
so
isn't that for the best at least?
No, it is. And that's what I'm saying. Like, that's why I just don't care. Like
yeah.
Everyone's like, oh my God, you should care that Stephen Curry is saying all of this nonsense. No, I don't care. Like, who cares?
I care to the certain extent of it's hard to look Steph in the eye as much. like it takes 2 minutes to debunk that one. I'm very open to conspiracy theories. Like I am. But
we've talked about it before. We are both like into this. But
like that one is ridiculous. Like I hope that they didn't land on the moon, because that would mean that First Man is false and it's a terrible movie and no one's should see it. Sorry, I'm still on. I haven't seen a movie since First Man, so I'm really
my God, get out of the house, man!
I did. I left the goddamn country.
How was Uruguay, by the way? Let's get into Uruguay and Argentina.
Let's establish what I was there for. So my girlfriend is Scottish. Her brother married a Brazilian. They have a baby who got me sick. They then went to Uruguay, where Roberta, his wife's family, lives now. They're Brazilian again. They moved down to Uruguay so that they could have a true Catholic wedding. So me, after years of having to go to a lot of Catholic masses that I had no interest in going to, got roped into another one in South America. It's the funniest mass I've ever been to in my entire life. It started with bagpipes in the middle of Uruguay. Yes. It got weirder from there.
Yes.
There was a loose Spanish translation, and by I mean loose, like not even remotely close to what the priest was saying. And it, of course, just ended with bagpipes. And just the beautiful sound of bagpipes just piercing everything in these very, heartwarming, romantic moments just really tops it off. It was weird. So we fly into Buenos Aires, then we jumped over to Punta del Este, which is this like beach town. It was like a 20-minute flight. It all went very swimmingly. Buenos Aires is awesome. Though when I got off the plane and then we're walking around Buenos Aires for a day, I realized, as someone who lived in South Florida for 3 years, it's the exact fucking same, down to the amount of Spanglish you can speak and get away with it. So I traveled 14 hours by plane to go back to a more remote version of Miami, which was a little bit disappointing.
I'm just excited that you are not going to... Do you think you're going to get subpoenaed? Is the question.
I don't. Were we on the record last time I was talking about that?
We were not.
Okay, so no, because we didn't do that.
That's excellent.
But I will say this: we didn't do that. Not so much from a logistical argument, but because the day before we went fishing, and your boy has bad inner ears, and so we all go fishing out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, which, by the way, was filthy. And it was just fucking gross. And I took 2 Dramamine thinking, like, I always get seasick, I get car sick, I get plane sick, I get every kind of sick. I got bad ears. And and I'm immediately sitting there. I'm sitting next to Heather's dad, who we're on good terms, but you never want to look like a complete wimp next to your girlfriend's dad. And I'm sitting there and I'm just like staring to the half distance. I'm so sick within 2 seconds. And we're all fishing, just sitting there. I catch 2 on the same line. I immediately take the fish off, hand pole to somebody else who was in the party, and then go up to the top of this small-ass fishing boat, which is just spewing diesel fuel, and just laid down, got sunburnt for like 40 minutes. Still totally haven't recovered. So then when the option was available to hit the high seas again, I turned it down, and we will not go any further into that story. But you can slide into the DMs, and I'll see if people are worthy of finding out exactly what the fuck we're talking about.
Excellent news. On this podcast, I swear we might actually talk about basketball at some point. We are sponsored by RXBar and Simple Contacts. We are going to talk about the Bulls mess because Deere grew up being a Bulls fan. And I figured we have to talk to him about the hilariousness that is Jim Boylan.
Oh, are we doing hilarious? Is that the term we're going for now?
Oh yeah, it's genuinely funny. I don't know. I think everything's funny though. Like
I listen. It is
like I'm here for the jokes.
It's funny.
I am here for the jokes.
I take it that you read Ricky O'Donnell's.
I did. Ricky came on the show last week, and he was spectacular.
Just a evisceration.
Yeah, the Celtics we're going to talk about. They've won 7 in a row. Yeah. We're going to talk about the Lakers and Kyle Kuzma. Kind of figuring some things out. He's kind of taking the leap. We're going to talk about how bad the bottom of the East is compared to the bottom of the West right now.
Real bad.
Hilarious. And then finally, we're going to talk about Oklahoma City because we haven't really talked a lot about Oklahoma City, and they're really good. And I feel like we're kind of giving them a bit of short shrift on the podcast. So
agreed. But that's your fault.
Yeah, it is my fault. I set the order. I'll take the blame for it. This is me.
Then we'll do things we like, even though this is kind of a positive jam.
It is. It is kind of a positive jam. This is what we do. We're going to start with the mess that is the Bulls. We're going to laugh about it, and then we're going to talk about how things are good right now.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's start with the Bulls because holy shit, what a fucking mess.
Thoughts, perception, beliefs.
I don't expect any better. This is the worst part. Like, here's the one takeaway I have. Like, Jim Boylan clearly doesn't know what he's doing. I have no problem. Like, you're going to get a dollar store version of Tom Thibodeau and expect like positive results. You're a moron. I thought Hoiberg was job, but he's been job since day one. So like, the hell do you expect? Of course, they're going to fire him at the most inopportune time. That is an entire organization of dudes who are just trying to cover their own asses on a day in, day out basis. It is a failed state. But Boylan in particular and all the micro stuff with the leadership council and all this stuff, like the one takeaway I had from it, and this is the only positive thing I can say about Jim Boylan, like, listen, the Bulls might actually need to practice for 2 hours. Like, they're really bad. I know Jim Boylan's not going to fix it, but like legit, you guys can't see this right now. Sam is, I think, did your chair just break?
No, I'm good. I'm good. Just had to readjust because my left foot fell asleep. So we're good.
We do a video version of this.
Yeah, we should say that, by the way. We do a video version of this podcast. You guys should watch the video version of this podcast. Go to YouTube.
Only if you watch that clip.
I felt like I actually don't think that when we do the video, people can see that. So we're clear.
Shit. My ugly mug.
Go to the YouTube channel. Go subscribe to the CLNS YouTube channel, and you'll be able to watch us.
Oh my god, it was truly quite something. I'm sorry for derailing my my inconsequential tangent about Jim Boylan. Like, the Bulls suck. They do probably need to practice for 2 hours, but Jim Boylan and just these nonsensical axioms he's constantly spouting, like. I legitimately think they found like a 50-year-old investment broker who coaches a church league on Sunday and is just like, I can do this job.
Like, okay, so there are a few different things going on.
A few.
There are like 100.
Yeah.
So the first thing that's worth saying is I understand that the Bulls need practice. They need to figure some shit out, right? They're a really bad defensive team. Most of this is the personnel.
1,000%, yeah.
John Paxson and Gar Forman for this above all. But I get the fact that a coach has to do with what he can with the hand he's dealt, right? Mm-hmm. Here's the problem, though. I get practicing for 2 hours. Don't make these dudes do, like, suicides like they're...
Yeah, you're making him do fucking push-ups.
Kids. Like, don't make them do, like, push-ups. Like, that's ridiculous. Don't schedule schedule practice after you play a back-to-back. The second you lose by 56 points.
Yeah.
Like, after those 2 hour practices where it's been miserable for the players, and then you say, oh yeah, we took the starters out so that we can get a good practice in on Saturday. That's bullshit. Like, don't, and then like act afterward like, oh yeah, like I was never going to have them practice. Like they have to learn to trust me. No.
They need to learn to trust me by I'm going to blatantly lie to them.
Yeah, like that is the most ridiculous possible outcome here.
He doesn't know what he's doing. Like,
yeah, well,
like,
no,
not in this like this sense that we say like, oh, he doesn't know what he's doing. Like, I don't like in a literal sense. I don't think
he has an idea of what he's doing. I think he knows what he wants to do. The problem is that he wants to be Greg Popovich. Like, you know, like there are people that are saying this right now. He came up from the pop tree. He coached under Greg Popovich. Like he wants to be Greg Popovich. Greg Popovich can do this stuff because Greg Popovich has built up 20 years of respect and won multiple titles with the San Antonio Spurs. Yeah. Jim Boylan coming in for 3 games now, he can't do that. Like, that's not how this works, you know?
I mean, obviously. But, like, the other thing, too, is, like, Pop isn't like this anymore. This shit flew 20 years ago, and Pop has adapted. Now, listen, he might still be harder nosed than most. And he's probably not to Tibbs's level in terms of hard nose, but like Jim Boylan's understanding, and listen, if Jim Boylan can make the argument of, well, yes, we're not the San Antonio Spurs, and I'm not Pop, but that doesn't mean that we're not going to do things the right way. His notion of the right way is outdated, and these are professional athletes. If this is how they want to run their business, that's fine. The players can do whatever revolt they want. That's their prerogative. Like, I'm not going to. You can't be doing suicides and push-ups. Like, you can. You're just not going to ever get any players that you don't draft. Like, that's right. That's how that's going to go. And the players are going to everything that's happening is going to happen, and you'll be a laughing stock of the NBA. You can do whatever the fuck you want during practice. I'm not going to bemoan a coach for going hard. I will bemoan the Bulls for putting this guy in charge. I will bemoan the front office for putting together a team that is wholly incapable of playing defense. Signing Jabari Parker to a $20 million deal. I'll just bemoan the entire state of this franchise because, like, what reason is there to be optimistic about the future? More specifically than that, what reason is there to think that when they get another lottery pick, because they're really bad and they're going to get another high draft pick, what reason is there to think that along with Wendell Carter and Lauri Markkanen, that there's going to be any base that's going to stick around and things are going to be good? Like, they'll just fuck that part up too. That's what they do.
I want to bring this part of it up as well. I don't understand why they have this faith in Jim Boylan to start with. Because,
right, like, why him?
Like, he ran Utah into the ground. And I mean, like, the University of Utah.
Yeah,
like, he ran them into the dirt. Like, they were so bad by the time he left. First and foremost, like, Will Clyburn was on that team, if I remember correctly, for like a year, and then ends up transferring to Iowa State. Will Clyburn is now like one of the 10 best players in Europe, probably, something like that. JJ O'Brien has gotten like a sniff of the NBA. I think he's signed with Utah a couple times. He was a great player at San Diego State. These guys all leave, and he ends up going 13 and 18 in his last year, 14 and 17 the year before that. And this was a program that, like, he didn't take over right from Rick Majerus. He took over from Ray Giacoletti after Giacoletti kind of started the ball rolling down this hill.
He didn't stop the ball from rolling, though.
No, he had like a good year in 2009 and then failed miserably. This program was so bad that when he left, Larry Kraskowiak, who is an amazing coach, he is phenomenal on the college level. He went 6-25 his first year because there was nobody there. Yeah. There was nobody there. It's just a total joke. Like, I don't get this, that they're even committing to him beyond the season right now, which is bananas to me. Like, none of this makes any sense.
I don't remember who wrote it, but I very much remember.
Let's assume it was Ricky O'Donnell, because Ricky.
No, because Ricky O'Donnell would have been 10. This is one of the main columns I remember, not to any specific degree, but I thought it was the first time I sort of took note of sort of what the column is supposed to do, and it's supposed to be a champion for the fan and sort of be that connection and someone who will collectively speak up. It's more politician than anything. And during the post-Elton Brand, Eddie Curry, Tyson Chandler shit show years, which were some incredible shit shows, the Bulls continued to sell out. And so that gap between when Derrick Rose showed up and when Elton Brand left, they were the worst. They were a laughingstock, worst team in the NBA, on par, not even on par with the Clippers. The Clippers got good because they got Elton Brand. And they would still sell out every single game. They still had the post-Jordan attendance bump. And my my dad, who was on the Bulls season ticket wait list the entire Jordan era, finally gets on, and we're like, yeah, we'll buy tickets. And we went, and it was just a miserable experience all around. And I very much remember a column in the Chicago Tribune being like, the Bulls will not change until people stop rewarding this team by going to games.
See, you know what the problem with this column is?
That shit is still fucking true today.
You know what the problem with this column is?
No.
It's probably written by Jay Mariani.
It was no, because it was the Tribune. It was the Tribune. It was the Tribune. So it might have been Skip Bayless.
We're clear with Skip. You know what? I got no problems with Skip.
I've heard some stories from him. I got a little bit of a problem with Skip. Skip Bayless one time told me we should go golfing, to which I go, well, that's a really good way to get on some nice courses and probably not the worst person to go out golfing with, all things considered. And he goes, let me take down your number. And I go, okay. And he pulls out his phone and he fake punched it in right in front of me.
Good for him.
As I could see it. And I'm just like, listen, man, you were the one who started this transaction. I wasn't like, hey, Skip, let's go golfing. I didn't say anything at all. He thought he was doing me a favor or something. I'm like, I don't want to be talking to you.
Just letting you know that he knows you exist,
I suppose.
In a very disingenuous way. But
just shake my hand and say, have a good day or something. I'm like, oh, that, listen. And that was the general tone of Fox with the on-camera people towards the writers, which is just I'm doing you a favor. And it's just no, I'm literally doing you a favor. They called me in to ghostwrite for you, motherfucker, because you can't do it. So I'm going to sit here and interview you for 3 hours as you nonsensically ramble, and I'll put this together into something that looks cohesive, get no credit for it. And he was asking an interesting conversation. I thought we were having an interesting personal conversation. I didn't spark it at all because I didn't want to sit in the room anymore. It sounded like he was kind of lonely, so I was kind of shooting the shit. Jesus. And at the end, he does an in-person ghosting. It was incredible. I'll never forget that. I don't know what kind of sick power move that was, but I think about it all the time.
just how much power you got to have to just in-person ghost someone.
Well, I had the thought of telling him to go fuck himself in the moment, and then I'm like, well, I should probably delay getting fired. It only took another few weeks.
So the Bulls need Zion. That's where we're at. The Bulls need
the Bulls need Jesus is what they need more than anything else. The Ricky O'Donnell thing was comprehensive and perfect, and it was.
Well, they need to fire John Paxson, and
they need to fire everybody. They need. There's no cohesive vision other than John Paxson and Gar Forman covering their ass on a minute by minute basis because there's no actual oversight from ownership, which doesn't really give a shit about the basketball team. They do care about the White Sox, which is great for me as a White Sox fan and season ticket holder. Maybe we'll get Bryce Harper out of this whole thing, and that might be worth it. But
okay, time out.
Yeah,
you live in the Bay Area. Why are you a White Sox season ticket holder?
It's a thing. It's kind of the Kurtenbach family cell phone bill is still in my name because I was the first to have unlimited data.
Okay. That makes sense.
The Spotify is still in my name because I get the family plan. It's sort of like that.
Okay.
So, if the White Sox come out okay on this, I might be okay, all things considered. There's a lot of other good basketball teams, and I'm completely flabbergasted as to how in a city that is notorious for being pretty tough on sports teams.
Yeah.
At least the Bears. At least externally. At least externally, they get the reputation of, being hard-nosed and not taking any shit and all that stuff.
They ran Mark Trestman out of town.
Well, he needed to be run out of town.
For
how they do with the Bears, the fact that this shit just keeps going on year after year is flabbergasting.
Yeah, it's a surprise. I would
say. This organization has legitimately sucked.
They're hard on the Cubs too. They're
super hard on the Cubs. They want to run Joe Madden out of town.
Right. So I don't.
So basically, it's the white guy sports.
Oh God.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's kind of right. Kind of right. Let's move on. Let's talk about the Celtics. The Celtics have won 7 in a row. They look like they have figured some things out.
They look better. They look better. And they've done this despite the fact that they've dealt with like a couple of injuries. Like Al Horford is struggling through some things right now. Gordon Hayward is like ill. He didn't play against the Wizards. I know that. They're dealing without Gershon Yabusele, by the way. He has a sprained ankle. The God, Dab God. Maybe that's why it is. Maybe that's why they're succeeding. I mean, the big thing out of this is that Kyrie has kind of taken his game to another level,
right?
Which is the whole shtick. I also think that they've done a nice job in sort of doing what I said they should do 2 months ago, which is simplify their shit, and that has been effective. They're doing a little more strength in numbers. They're not asking as much out of Tatum or out of Brown. But Kyrie has to step up to make that shit work. I would also like to note that their schedule hasn't been all that tough.
No, it hasn't. But the fact that they're now 11th in offensive rating, I think is notable. And like not all of that is coming from the 133-point outburst against the Bulls. Like they dropped 120 on the Timberwolves when the Timberwolves have actually kind of figured some things out defensively and look really good. They dropped 124 on the Pelicans, which not necessarily a great defense, but whatever.
But still, like they're putting down numbers and they're shooting a high percentage, and the ball's moving a little bit better. Let me see the assists. I mean, they've gotten 30 assists once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. 4 times out of the last 6 games. Like that's big for them. That's when you know things are right, when the assist numbers are clicking.
Right, and they're not turning the ball over either. Like if you look at their last 3 games, turnover rates
13, 7, 9. Yeah,
well, it's even better than that. It's like 11, 11, 7.
Oh, I was just reading off the raw turnover numbers here from Basketball Reference.
I was talking turnover percentage. They're at like 11, 11, 7 over the last 3 games. Those numbers are like minuscule.
We know that this team can defend even without Horford. It is systematically built to slow teams down. Listen, beating the Bulls by 50 whatever is going to skew some numbers for sure. But like, you're holding. It all looks very normal right now. You look at these numbers, you look at the games. It looks like the Boston Celtics are a Brad Stevens coach team with an incredible amount of depth and a little bit of cohesion. And I think Hayward looking better is a big factor in this, that it gives them sort of a second kind of smoke that they can use off the bench and in the second units and stuff like that. Kyrie, I think, increasing his defensive intensity and taking on more of a leadership role on court as opposed to just sort of yapping about it off the court is big. And the fact that they were probably always just in simplifying stuff for the younger guys is helpful, but the fact that they were just always going to probably do this is the bigger factor. And they got a nice stretch here, and they kind of ran out of time to make excuses after a pretty shitty stretch a couple weeks ago when they lost here 1, 2, 3, 4 out of 5. With the only win coming against Atlanta. Like they had run out of time. They had to make it happen. They're making it happen. A lot of reasons to be positive about what's happened.
Yeah, and you know what, too? Like it's worth mentioning as well that they won last night without Gordon Hayward and Jaylen Brown, right?
Yeah.
Like the fact that they're actually figuring some things out while dealing with just like random Knicks.
Right, they don't have a cohesive lineup.
Yeah, and like Al Horford didn't play in that game either. Like they're getting real minutes right now.
I mean, I know it's Washington, but Washington's been playing better. But when you don't have 3 of your best players, and there's no argument that those are obviously 3 of their best players, even though Hayward is not where he once was, and Brown is having a tricky year. That's huge. That's big.
Yeah, and like the fact that they're getting real contribution right now from Shimi Ojale and Daniel Tice and Robert Williams is looking really good.
The man you said would be spending all of his time in Maine, and I was talking him up in the preseason.
Time Lord, baby. We're here for Time Lord. Robert Williams looks intriguing. Shout out Texas A&M for playing him in the corner of his own regularly.
SEC basketball, baby.
They look like a team that is kind of starting to play for each other. And I think that's the most important thing.
Yes, absolutely. Good point.
And we'll see what happens whenever they have a full complement of guys. Because like maybe like not having a full complement of guys has simplified things in the way that you're talking, like maybe that
you need to be a bit more pragmatic.
Yeah. Like maybe that's just like, Kyrie going, I'm the guy.
Yeah.
There's like, I can rely on Jason. I can rely on Marcus. Terry can come in for me and I can play with Terry sometimes.
Yes.
We'll get buckets together. But this is me. Like, this is my show. And I think that does simplify things and it makes things easier for Boston.
Two things on that. I think Terry has done.
Like, that's actually kind of not a good thing sometimes. That, like, it makes it easier because this team's ceiling is higher with these other guys, right? Like, it's higher
for sure.
Having Jaylen Brown and Gordon Hayward and Al Horford. Breaking news, right?
Right. You have to have a base, though. And when they were trying to figure out the most complicated part of the entire game just all at once, where you got to build. There's foundational stuff that you got to set down. And when you bring in a player like Hayward, you're going to have to recalibrate everything. I mean, it's a different building. And they had not set a foundation. And we all know that Stevens is about that kind of shit. And so when you were trying to sort of, cram study in a way, trying to get it all figured out immediately, it's going to look rough. And that's what it did. So that's why I've been saying they needed to simplify it. Yes, they forced it. I think that they can build off of this now because two things. I think Terry Rozier has done a nice job of just sort of accepting what's happening. He's sort of playing within himself now a little bit more than I thought he was earlier in the season. And the second thing is Tatum is finally getting the message that he can't be a taller Mamba. Like seriously, I don't know what game it was, but it was in Jackie Mack's great piece on Jaylen Brown about how, I think it was, sorry, it all blurs together, about how Stevens pulls Tatum after like a minute and 10 seconds because he pulls up on a 25-foot jump shot or a 17-foot mid-ranger that off of two dribbles, and it's just like, this is not how we play basketball. Yes, you can do that, and they will probably need him to do that as much as they need Kyrie to do it come playoffs, come crunch time, come those big minutes. But during the first 40 or so minutes of the game, it's about the system. It's about ball movement. It's about penetrating dish. It's about just catch and shoot and not trying to get into this hero ball ISO crap. And Tatum, again, we've talked about this ad nauseum, so I won't belabor the point, but like, he made a jump mid playoffs, and that's going to skew your perception of perhaps what it is you are already. But his game looks a lot simpler. It looks a lot closer to an improved version of last year's regular season, which is what the building block should have been. And I don't know. I mean, we'll have to see them against better competition on a more consistent basis, to be totally honest. But at this time, I think we can kind of call off the dogs on Brad Stevens and the Celtics team in general. They're more than competent at this point, and they got a lot of time to build it up to something special.
You're talking about building blocks. You know what a great building block is to a diet? It's RXBar. RXBar wants to build things the right way. They believe in the power of transparency, and they let the core ingredients do all of the talking with them listed on the front of the packaging. You'd likely recognize RXBar at the shelf. They're the ones who have egg whites for protein, dates to bind, nuts for texture, and other delicious ingredients like unsweetened chocolate, real fruit and spices like sea salt or cinnamon. As it turns out that real food ingredients actually taste good. They're gluten-free, soy-free, dairy-free, whether you like sweet or savory, chocolate or fruit flavors. There's definitely an RXBar for you. There's no artificial colors, no artificial flavors, preservatives, or fillers. They're great for a number of occasions, be it breakfast on the go, snack at the office to push you through that 3 p.m. slump. You throw them in your bag for a plane ride. They're a great pre or post-workout snack, and they come in 14 delicious flavor varieties, from mango pineapple to chocolate hazelnut, from peanut butter and berries to chocolate sea salt. They have seasonal flavors too. And now RXBar has debuted RX Nut Butter, which contains a few simple and similar ingredients like egg whites, fruits, and nuts. Each single-serve packet contains delicious creamy nut butter with 9 grams of high-quality protein. It's squeezable and spreadable, and it pairs great with fruit, rice cakes, pretzels, or straight out of the pouch. And the flavors on that are honey cinnamon, peanut butter, just straight peanut butter, and then vanilla almond butter.
Whoa.
I'm a big RXBar fan. They're great. And for 25% off of your first order of the bestseller variety pack, visit rxbar.com/game theory and enter the promo code Game Theory at checkout. This is valid in the United States only and for a limited time, but for 25% off of that first order of the bestseller variety pack, visit rxbar.com/Game Theory and enter that promo code Game Theory at checkout. Whew! Let's go on ahead.
Hell of a read, Sam.
And talk about the Lakers.
The Lakers. Break after that. Holy crap.
Ooh, I'm rolling right now.
Okay, here's what the Lakers need to do. They need to find someone to take Brandon Ingram off of their hands.
Oh wow, that is coming out of the gate strong.
Yeah, because they are better without him.
Oh man, that is a take.
Yeah, if they can get some complementary players, a couple of guys to fill out. I don't know what that is. I haven't extrapolated it out, but we've seen what Kyle Kuzma's been able to do since he's been gone. You look at this team. Ingram and LeBron don't work. They just don't, and it's not worth finding out if they can at this juncture. You need to have LeBron is handling the ball. That is his job on this team. It was always going to happen. It's happened a lot faster with Rondo's injury. Lonzo has always been a good combo guy, so you're more comfortable with him playing off of the ball and LeBron handling it. But when you have Ingram on the court with LeBron, you essentially have a very beta version of LeBron playing with LeBron. And Ingram is not a good enough outside shooter. He's a guy who needs to cut to the basket and really attack with the dribble. It just doesn't work. You need to have a 4-out system with a high pick and roll guy and just gets shooting on the floor. And that's how the LeBron Cavs were able to win games. They just put shooting around LeBron and Tristan Thompson or Kevin Love or whoever. Sometimes, most of the time, Kevin Love was just stuck in a corner as a shooter. But like Ingram isn't that guy. He's not going to become the guy in the next year or so. And the Lakers are in a position right now to be the second best team in the Western Conference, frankly, because no one else seems to want to take it. And the Nuggets are now too banged up to really trust them long term. So I don't know what Ingram's trade value is, but I think the longer he's on this team, the lower it gets, just to be totally honest, because it just doesn't work. And that's not a fault of Brandon Ingram per se. Just the development curve had to have been sped up, and it's just not there. And if they can go out and get some veterans for him, a couple of guys who they can really use to increase their depth, I think that would work well, because the Lakers just look strictly better. I mean, Hart looks better, Kuzma looks better, and I think Lonzo looks better. And those are the three guys you need to look better when Brandon Ingram's not out there demanding not only the ball, but possession of it for multiple seconds.
So it's worth noting that I think a lot of what you say is right in terms of Ingram.
Yeah.
Because if you look at the numbers, right, like Ingram,
the numbers are rough.
They're not like disastrous, but like they're not great. Like Ingram has played 80% of his minutes with LeBron James, and the Lakers are only like a half point better whenever Ingram is on the floor offensively and like a point better when Ingram's on the floor defensively. You look at LeBron's numbers, they're like, I want to say like a +5, +6, like something in that range. So it's very clear that LeBron is playing a little bit better when Ingram is off the floor versus when Ingram's on the floor.
They only have a +5 net rating in like 500 minutes together this year, or a +0.5. Sorry, like they're a net zero team when Ingram and LeBron are playing together,
which is weird for a 17 and 10 team. Here is where I'm at on that. I agree with you that Kyle Kuzma and Josh Hart and Lonzo are the three guys that seem like they're the fits. And like Lonzo is questionable, but Lonzo does a good job getting out on the break. He does a good job defensively.
He'll shoot. He'll just shoot. I mean, I don't know if it's the best thing, but like that also might be the best version of Lonzo, which is you don't want Lonzo shooting off the dribble. You just want Lonzo to catch and shoot, and it will go in more often than it looks like it should. But that's probably the best for him too.
The fact that he's at 32% from three right now, while providing everything else that he does,
right? That's
fine. You know.
Yeah. I'm not one of these guys who thinks that Lonzo will ever live up to the billing. I thought there was too much hype on him. I thought that the shot was flawed.
I had him at 4 on my pre-draft board.
He's either the worst good player or the best bad player. But
I think he's good. Like, I'll just say it. I think he's just good.
There's nothing wrong with him. You can play him. He's not going to actively hurt your team.
Right. But
here's something. We weren't there last year.
He's not. I thought he's pretty good last year too. But here's the deal. He's not their best player from that draft class.
No.
Kyle Kuzma is the best player for them in that draft class. And
no question.
And that's saying like he's not even shooting the ball that well right now. No. Like if you look at he's shooting like 32% from three this year. He has been amazing. It's just about every other facet of the game, and that includes his defense. Like that to me is the biggest thing here. His defense has taken a huge leap. And it's like really over the last month, because even at the start of the year, whenever he had to play some center and had to kind of do some things that he wasn't comfortable with, he wasn't that great.
That was a silly time.
But over the last like month or so, he's been awesome on defense, or not like, maybe I shouldn't say awesome. He's been more than competent. Like he looks like a guy who could be
well, okay, competence probably.
He doesn't hurt them out there, and he fits there. And
well, how much of this do you think has to do with the fact that they actually just got another center?
A lot. Like the fact that they're 8th defensively right now.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that Kuzma's playing better, Lonzo is playing more minutes, and they got Tyson Chandler to actually provide size inside whenever JaVale sits.
It's fucking incredible what just having Tyson Chandler in there, who is still a solid, or at least a threat to protect the rim, but now you don't have to play Kuzma at the 5 anymore. He can play a more traditional defensive role. He's long. I mean, he was good enough to play the 5. That was a ridiculous concept to begin with, but the fact that they felt comfortable putting him there as like a small ball 5 speaks to some sort of competence. And
well, really, they put him there because they didn't want LeBron to have to deal with wear and tear on 5s.
Still, they had to put somebody there, and they chose him.
Right.
I mean, they had crappy dudes on the bench that
That's true. They could have kept playing Jonathan Williams.
Yeah. So,
and shout out Jonathan Williams.
Sorry, I mean, good for Jonathan Williams for carving out an NBA career. I didn't really see that coming. We'll see how long it lasts. But like, yeah, they did. They play Jonathan Williams sometimes. He had a nice game like 6 weeks ago. But
you throw in the fact that Kuzma is an incredible driver of the basketball. He can even like kind of handle some stuff in the mid post. He can take advantage of mismatches in the post.
Yeah.
Like he's averaging 18 points a game on a 57% true shooting percentage right now. And
he's averaging 26 points, 8 rebounds, and 3 assists on 56% shooting and 40% from 3 in the 3 games without Ingram.
Yeah.
I understand it's a really small sample size theater. Don't get me wrong, but like, whoa.
So like, yeah, I'm kind of at the point where I'm with you that it might make sense to trade Brandon Ingram.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think that he's probably the guy that they should look to move, in part because I think that he has a lot of value. Like I think that's a good basketball player.
Listen, I don't think Brandon Ingram's a bust. I just don't think that this works for him. I think he
now
needs
that
to be
LeBron
on a team.
is there. Yeah,
it just doesn't work. I mean, his game was always going to be more of that LeBron KD style when it fully matures, and it was always going to take a little bit longer than it should have. But his ceiling was so high that he had to go at number 2.
They drafted a kid that was 18 years old
and needed to put on 35 pounds.
Right. Like we knew that with Brandon, it was going to take a few more years for him to get there. He's a good basketball player now.
Absolutely.
I think he can help a lot of teams.
Absolutely. I mean, you look at some, especially a team that has a longer scope, right? Like he can help good teams right now, but a team with a longer scope and a less ball dominant point guard. Yeah.
Right. So like what I think is probably going to happen, I think he stays there through the rest of the year.
Yeah.
You use them next summer.
I don't like it. I think that the Lakers need to understand that they have a window right now. As silly as that sounds, like okay, but like okay, let's just work on this baseline presumption here for a second. And I am not saying this, but like the Warriors are obviously the only team in the West that anyone can realistically say is coming out of the West, right?
Yeah.
But this Lakers team can be as good as a Cavs team that outside of game 1. I mean, game 1 was a to the wire game. And then it all went downhill from there because LeBron allegedly broke his hand. Like LeBron has always given the Warriors problems. He beat him in a goddamn series by himself. He took 2 games off of them in 2015. Like, yes, I'm not saying anything, but like
it's a lot of reliance on youth, though. They had like guys in their first playoff series.
He had a lot of reliance on J.R. Smith in some other series too. Like, youth can work to your advantage. Listen, you don't have Kyrie, so clearly there's a differentiation in talent level. I'm saying is the West is wide the hell open. The Warriors might not be as good as they were last year on the basis of depth. I know playoffs is a totally different thing. I made this argument in the column this morning, which is they're going to start 5 All-Stars in the playoffs. That's otherworldly. At the same time,
okay, so
but hubris is the downfall of man. They might walk themselves into the end of their dynasty.
Okay, maybe
that's the only argument I can make for it. But who's going to be there? I
don't think it's going to happen.
I don't think it's going to happen either. But if they trip up, if the Warriors decide that if the Warriors get in their own way and they trip up, who is going to be there to take it? And the Lakers have to look around the Western Conference and go, well, why not us? Well, why not us right now is the fact that they're not deep enough and that they wouldn't be. I don't think this team currently constructed could take advantage of the opportunity. They're going to struggle in the Western Conference playoffs in general. But if they go out and trade Ingram, which again is tricky because everyone kind of knows you're sort of selling low, even though I think the price only gets lower.
Yeah, I don't think they're selling low on Brandon. I'll say that.
Okay. I mean, certainly not compared to where it might be in the summer if this stuff continues and everyone realizes they got to move on from him in the sense that he just doesn't work with LeBron. But like,
so here's why I don't think they're going to trade him too.
Yeah.
Is because they can't take on any extra future money right now.
Right. That's an extremely valid point.
Which, like, who do you go out and get? Like, you're not going to trade Brandon Ingram for Terrence Ross and what? You're not going to trade Brandon Ingram right now for Bobby Portis and Justin Holiday, which is like a useful package.
You'd rather see if it can work through some means, yeah.
But like that's just bad planning. That's
right.
Misutilizing assets and like making poor use of opportunity costs, right?
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense to go from the summer from your perspective of you see what you get on the free agent market, and then you have the ability to throw a second kind of smoke on top of that.
Right. I think that
makes sense.
And plus, like, it seems like they're in on Trevor Ariza right now. We'll see if that deal goes down in a couple of days here.
Well, that would be now. You want to talk about a great team for Ingram? Like that would be an interesting landing spot.
Sure, but there's no reason
that's
to give
that's
them
not the deal.
deal.
I'm not insinuating that would be the value.
Like, are you getting Josh Jackson, Trevor Ariza, and something else in that deal? Like, that'd be something. I mean, Josh Jackson's been bad so far this year is the problem. So like he kind of goes away from what you're trying to do. So I don't know. Like I don't think you trade.
How about this? The way I should have phrased it earlier is it's clear who the guy on the outs is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like plainly evident.
I think that he's the toughest one to fit. I for sure think that based off of what we've seen so far, he's the toughest one to fit.
Which sucks. It would have been interesting. But he's a guy who just has to hang out in the corner and attack the rim from there. And it just doesn't work with the way that things are set up.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would like to see if this can I think he's going to be like a borderline all-star. Like if he goes to the Eastern Conference,
he's
going to average 20 points a game next year.
I'm betting on Brandon Ingram when he's 23, 24 to be a thing. Like I'm not in any way discounting his future potential. I'm just looking at when the Lakers got him and what they expected and the timeline that they had. He was sort of. I knew that they always wanted LeBron. Like everyone knew that they always were looking at LeBron. But shit changes, right? Like when LeBron actually shows up, then it's push come to shove time. And Brandon Ingram probably isn't where the Lakers thought he would be at this juncture, even though they had a long view on him. Man, it's tough, but he's a professional and he'll be in a good spot at some point. I just don't think that spot is going to be with the Lakers. I don't think he reaches his full potential with the Lakers as currently constructed.
That requires some foresight, and the best way to have foresight is with Simple Contacts. Simple Contacts is the most convenient way to renew your contact lens prescription and reorder your brand of contacts from anywhere in minutes instead of heading to the doctor year after year to just renew your prescription for something you wear every day. You can do it on your own time, in your own terms, in just a few minutes. It's vision care for the 21st century. All you have to do is take a 5-minute Simple Contacts vision test online. It'll be reviewed by a licensed doctor, and you receive a renewed prescription and reorder your contacts. All you need is your current contacts and internet connection in 10 feet of space. Even if you're totally out of contacts, they have an option for you to. Why would you use Simple Contacts, and why is it awesome? It's because it's convenient for all the reasons I just mentioned. It's fast. This vision test is self-guided and takes under 5 minutes. So think about how much time you're saving compared to driving to the doctor, making an appointment. You have to take time off work. You're saving yourself money, period, just every way. So it's reliable. It offers you choice because they have all types of brands and all types of lenses. And the vision test is only $20. The contact lens prices are unbeatable. And best of all, we're offering a promotion to our listeners. Simple Contacts is something that I use regularly whenever I have to order contacts. It is a fantastic service. The best thing is that, simplecontacts.com/gametheory20, that's going to give you a $20 off of your contact order. You enter simplecontacts.com/gametheory20 in that URL bar, and you enter gametheory20 at checkout as your promo code. Look, this isn't a replacement for your periodic full eye health exam. They only test that the current prescription still helps you see 20/20 and renew that prescription itself. They're not going to write you a completely new RX, or they're not going to examine eye health or anything. But I can give you $20 off your contacts if you need contacts. And if you go to simplecontacts.com/gametheory20. So go do that. Dieter, the last thing we're going to talk about before we get into things that we like is Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
like I said at the top, like I feel like we've kind of given Oklahoma City like the short end of the shrift this year. They've been really good. Like they're 17-9 right now. They have the best defensive rating in the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
Like they've been basically everything that we thought they would be coming into the preseason.
I think that's exactly right. That they were everything we thought they would be, and what we thought they would be was the fourth, somewhere between 3 and 6 in the Western Conference.
Like,
right.
I had them like getting a home playoff series, but if you didn't, I would understand that. Like everyone had them as a playoff team. Everyone had them as a really good defense. They're
doing
right
exactly what we expected. The problem is everybody else in the Western Conference isn't. Like
kind of, yeah.
Like they're the number 1 seed in the Western Conference because no one else wants it, apparently. And I guess Denver wants it. They just can't have it. It's just a very weird year in the Western Conference where you have all but one team in the middle of a playoff hunt, a third of the way through the seain. And kudos to the Thunder. I mean, the reason that they're not talked about a lot is because they're doing exactly what was expected, and that is just being baseline competent. They are the only ones fulfilling the narrative, and good on them. Yeah,
like you look at Utah. Utah is probably slightly worse than what we thought they would be. Denver's probably a little bit better. The Clippers are a little bit better.
Yeah,
I don't think anyone really saw the Lakers being quite as
no one rational saw this.
Yeah, like Memphis is playing a little bit better than what we thought. Dallas is playing better than what we thought, certainly.
Yeah. Houston's playing a lot worse than we thought.
Houston's playing way worse than we thought. The Spurs
are playing worse than we thought.
The Spurs are probably right in that mix as well as like a team that is.
Spurs were probably right where we thought they would be, but maybe
they're doing it for different reasons.
Right. It's kind of a weird, jarring thing where it's like, are they going to just start tanking now? Like this is, I don't know. It doesn't feel like they're in it, but they are.
And then we've got the Kings who are like ahead of the Blazers right now.
God damn. God bless those Sacramento Kings.
Kind of says a lot about both teams in a lot of ways. So,
doesn't it?
Then the Timberwolves traded Jimmy Butler, and the Spurs look totally new. And
by the way, the Timberwolves traded Jimmy Butler and like look markedly better.
Right, like we talked about that on last week's show. It's a weird.
We won't belabor that point, but like, wow.
Yeah,
Robert Covington, perfect Tibbs player.
Shout out Robert Covington. So yeah, like the Thunder are basically they're the balance point. They're the status quo. We thought they are what we thought they were. They are the Dennis Green of the NBA right now, and I am here for it.
First off, they're the Chicago Bears, who are exactly who we thought they were.
Okay, I'll accept that.
Monday Night Football, good times.
All right, is that like a Michael Scott thing? Monday Night Football, good times.
No, I just vividly remember where I was when that Dennis Green thing happened. I was in my freshman year dorm room at Mizzou. R.I.P. Dennis Green. Nevertheless, they're the one team that's kind of doing exactly what we thought. They are the most competent version of themselves right now to a certain degree, and that's being rewarded in the standings. The only reason that people might overanalyze it and get hot and heavy about where the Thunder are right now is because of their relative standing. But relative to their own expectations, they're right on par.
It's the other guy I want to talk about here though is Russ, because he's having a very interesting year in a lot of ways. Like
interesting is the right word. Yeah.
22 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists. He's averaging the triple-double that he has over the last 2 years, which coming off a knee injury is insane in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Despite coming off of that injury, which it was a knee, right? Like I'm not losing my mind.
Yeah, sounds right. I don't know. Russ gets a lot of injuries if we're just being totally honest here. Like there's always kind of something, and it doesn't come out until like way after the fact.
Yeah, like my brain might be forgetting for whatever reason.
Russ certainly had some injury that should have limited him and his explosiveness to a certain degree, and he started the season on the bench. So,
but what's happening here is he's having as far as I can remember, like I think he's having a great year finishing in the basket, which is like that's a high bar. The exact opposite of what you would think with like an explosiveness injury like this.
Yeah. Like he adding more control to his game now that he doesn't have as much explosiveness. Though that's not something I've necessarily noted. It just seems like he's attacking less.
Yeah, he looks fine out there. Like let's be clear on that too.
Maybe it's a bit more mature Russell Westbrook. Less.
It is, and the way that you can see that is he's having his worst shooting year from distance. Mm-hmm. Like he's shooting 22% from three. He's shooting 60% from the free throw line. Yeah, but good. He's also like passing the ball really well, I think.
He sees the floor really well right now. That's
like his usage rate is only at like 31, which for us not that crazy. Yeah. But he has like a 47% assist rate. Like he's continued to just roll along and distribute and get his 10 assists a night. I really like this version of Russell Westbrook. I think he's been excellent to start the year.
Play Russ.
Yeah, and like, look, his efficiency, he's like a 50 true shooting percentage right now.
What do you fucking expect?
Fine.
Yeah, what do you expect?
Well, like you expect him to be like right around league average, hopefully. Hopefully he's making
what is that, 52, 53?
It's 55.
Okay. Goddamn.
Like you hope he's like at league average, like right around it.
He'd probably get there, to be totally honest. Like, he's not that bad a shooter.
Yeah, like, I think he's going to regress. He's not a 22% three-point shooter.
Yeah.
But, like, it's just like you said, it's a more mature Russ that looked a little bit more under control, I guess.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's
playing smart basketball in a significant way.
That's always been the issue with Russ. I mean, no one can match him almost nobody can match him on a physicality level, but he'll run at 110 miles per hour and lose control of the goddamn steering wheel. Like, and you just didn't know when that crap was going to happen. He'd go crazy. And I haven't seen that yet this year. Certainly helps that Paul George is anything but he's a very calming influence as a person and as a player.
He's been very good this year as well.
Has been very good. And he has been, as expected, very good. And Steven Adams has been as expected.
You know what? I will say Steven Adams.
You want to give him the bump?
He's made a leap offensively a little bit, I think. Like, he's averaging 16 points and 10 rebounds a night. He has taken to being the true third option on that team in a really good way.
Factual. I think that their bench is a little bit better than what was expected.
Yes, that's definitely true. You look at Dennis Schroeder. Dennis Schroeder has been very useful.
And you don't need Dennis Schroeder to be the Dennis Schroeder that maybe people thought they were going to get in Atlanta.
Yeah.
You just need him to be able to hold water for 15 minutes a game, not even a full 20.
And he's
not
been
even
better defensively, too. Like, he's not just like a total sieve defensively anymore.
Yeah, he's always been a good energy guy. He just didn't know what the fuck he was doing.
Yeah.
But now he knows a little bit of what he's doing. Like, Billy Donovan.
But, like, it was funny. Like, he played hard and, like, actually, like, he gave energy on the floor.
Yeah.
But it was kind of like an energy sucking situation because he pounded the ball constantly.
Yeah.
And, like, would go, like, over aggressive. So, like, I always kind of felt like he took energy from the teams despite the fact that he was giving energy. It was like a weird thing, right?
It was a negative net energy player.
I don't even know.
Not energy neutral. It was that of course
energy neutral.
That was, of course, the bad vibes, the worst case scenario going into the season for the Thunder, which is now you have a Russell Westbrook who is, again, we've seen it time and time again. He can go so fast, he can come off the rails. And Dennis Schroeder, who does the exact same thing, except isn't nearly as good as Russell Westbrook.
Yeah.
And that you kind of had two versions of the same player, the all-star and the bench version. And both of them are a little bit more controlled. So whatever the fuck they're doing in Oklahoma City, continue to do it, because this is the best version of them. I'd be interested to see if they could go out and get a guy like Trevor Ariza. That would be a really interesting pickup for them, but I don't know if it's necessarily possible.
So how could they do that?
The problem is Roberson's making good money, and he's not around.
Yeah, like you're not going to trade Andre Robertson.
Of course not.
Is it like Abrinas and Patterson is your move? Like I don't do that if I'm
what kind of deal is that?
So like, and like here's the other thing too.
Abrinas.
Those two guys haven't really played well this year. Like Patterson for the second straight year looks shot.
Don't understand it.
I don't get that at all. I thought that was a great signing when it happened.
And we were so shocked at how cheap he was. But it makes all the sense in the world now. I don't know what the Thunder knew, what everyone else in the NBA knew.
Yeah, it was kind of weird.
But ignorance.
Here are the two guys that look really, really good. Nerlens Noel and Hamidou Diallo. They kind of fit that Thunder ethos in a lot of ways.
Totally.
Super athletes, use that athleticism defensively, like super hard, and then we'll try and teach them whatever we can skill wise.
Well, I was talking up Diallo early in the season. He got there was just a lot of buzz around him, and I watched him a little bit, and I go like, I can kind of see it. Like he was super thundery, and I think both of us were absolutely on the Noel train. Which is
a great signing.
Absolutely zero loss. The fact that he committed for multiple years implies a sort of, I'm going to commit myself to this thing and let's make this work. I think he's going to come out in another year and really be on great footing. I think that he got frankly, this had to work, or his career
it's
was
a player option for next year, so he might not be there next year.
He might not, but
still, it's it helps. I think.
I thought that was an inspired move, and I'm shocked that more teams weren't interested in making it. But here we are.
He is purely Adams' backup right now, which is fine.
But he was always going to be. I mean, he was never going to get. I mean, unless he was playing for the Warriors, he was never going to get a starting center job.
Right. So that's about all I got on the Thunder. They're really good, and they are about exactly as we expected.
Where do you think that seed is? If we were to talk at the All-Star game, where do you think that seed? Let's just presume they stay steady as she goes.
2. I think
2,
that.
3,
I mean, they were my pick to be the Western Conference finalist this year.
Yeah, I remember that.
It was either them or Houston, I thought. So,
we can clearly choose one or the other now.
Yeah, I think they're good, and I think they will continue to be good.
Here. Way to go, Thunder. Way to be exactly who we thought you would be.
Yeah, sometimes it's just worth calling out teams that are good. We don't have to talk to chaos teams all the time.
But I like the chaos teams, Sam.
We do like the chaos teams. Speaking of things that we like, Dieter, what is the thing that you like this week?
Okay, so we are all super Luka fans here because Luka is awesome, and every day with Luka in it is a joy. And I am super fan of Darren Jackson numero uno. But I was going through just sort of the NBA. Being out of the country, I was only catching scores and loose stuff, and I kind of just spent an hour just reading, not going through the day-to-day stuff, but just reading. And there's so many good rookies right now. And you look at the 2018 draft class, which was always hyped up to be a really good draft class, obviously. But and I know we're only a third of the way through the season, but 1 through 12 in this draft class has just been so goddamn good. And I can't really think of a draft class in recent years that's been this rock solid early. And a lot of things can go negative, and a lot of things can get even better. And I don't want to get hyperbolic and compare anything to 2013, which is a class that has multiple Hall of Famers and all that stuff. But this has a chance to be as good of a draft as we have ever had, knowing that we're very early in the season. The fact that DeAndre Ayton, who is averaging a double-double and is averaging.
Let's be clear on this. He's averaging 16, 10, and 3 on 60% from the field.
Right. He is a ready-made, rock-solid offensive center in the NBA in his rookie season. The defense leaves a lot to be desired, to be fair, but that is to be expected from a big man in his first year on a horseshit basketball team.
They are bad.
The fact that he and Trae Young, who Trae's numbers are not good, we can all be objective about that, but his ability to see the court, his playmaking ability, his positive infectiousness is undeniable, and really gets the imagination going for when he gets that shot and when he is able to pull up off the dribble from half court. And there's a reason the Steph Curry comparisons are constantly made, even though they're probably unfair to him. But when those guys are being discussed as busts, you have a good rookie class. Let's just go through it 1 through 12 here, and we'll be fast. And obviously I want to hear your thoughts on this as the expert in this area. And we just talked about Ayton, but Bagley has been, I don't know what his usage has been, certainly controversial in-house, but you can see the positives off of Marvin Bagley. It sucks that, Doncic was taking one after him, and that creates somewhat of a negative connotation around him. But I feel like the Kings are better when Bagley is on the court, and he is kind of living up to what we wanted him to be in the best case scenario, and you can see a lot of upside there. We all know Luka. I don't know if I'm all about this whole Luka is the best rookie since X sort of a conversation, but goddamn is he fun to watch on a nightly basis. And you and I will both be the first to yell at people for thinking that he wasn't going to be good. He was only the best player in Europe as a teenager. Jackson is fucking awesome. He is my favorite rookie. He is my rookie. And every day I just feel like a proud father watching him grow. He is going to be a multiple-time All-Star. I will not hold back the hyperbole for Jaren Jackson. He is my favorite, and I love him dearly. Trae Young is, as we said, just tickles the imagination. It would be fun. Mo Bamba, the usage is strange. Orlando's in a weird spot with him. They are both in it and rebuilding at the same time, but you can see it. The flashes are spectacular, and I think that he's going to get more and more run here down the stretch. Wendell Carter, somewhat of the same, just sitting in a bad situation. You don't really know what he's supposed to be. He's kind of got a weird tweener body for the modern NBA, 4 and 5, but man, if he isn't skilled. Colin Sexton's starting to figure it out. I know there's a lot of drama early in the year, but man, is he figuring it out, and that motor is going to lend itself well to the Cavs rebuild. Knox is starting to get some run in New York. You can see what's going on there. Michael Bridges is like one of the only competent Phoenix Suns. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has been just stellar. Stellar is the only word for
He's really good
for the Los Angeles Clippers. There was a guy that he was getting buzz in the preseason too. And again, you don't want to put too much stock in preseason because you don't know who you're really playing against, but he just looked like a goddamn veteran from day one. I'm still trying to find kind of a solid comparison for him, but he reminds me a little bit of Spencer Dinwiddie in Brooklyn. And that is a very high praise if you can be compared to Spencer Dinwiddie, even in my totally addled mind. And Miles Bridges is still piecing it together, but he's again
really good. He's already a rotation player.
Yeah, and you're not expecting a lot out of him. I mean, you don't expect Miles Bridges to be the dude anywhere, but as a third option, he's going to be the third or fourth best player on a really good team here in the NBA at some point, and it might friggin' be this year.
So here
what a great 1 through 12 that is.
Here are the numbers. Every rookie that went 1 through 12 has played at least 440 minutes this season.
Yeah,
which is really impressive for a rookie class like that. We're like less than a quarter of the way into the season, and that is the case. That is kind of crazy to me. Last year's was pretty good. Like Markelle was only at like 680 for the full season, but like last year, for the most part, the rookies played a bunch of minutes. The year before that, for the most part, they played like a decent amount of minutes, but like this is a special rookie class in terms of contributors from the jump. The guys that I want to mention real quick, Trae Young is like flashes, but a lot of bad. The flashes are amazing. The bad is bad. The defense is really bad right now.
It's really bad.
Like the fact that, like, I feel like people aren't really talking enough about the fact that Trae Young is a shooter that is shooting 25% from 3 right now.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a problem, but
it's a problem. Don't get me wrong. Like I'm not thrilled about it. At the same time, when you see the flashes, and I don't think anyone expected that much. I think maybe we've all learned our lesson from Lonzo a little bit.
The vision is there. The playmaking is there. I think that's what's really important right now. As you said, Jaren's been great. Wendell Carter is in a mess. Colin Sexton, has been awesome since he got called out by his coach.
And he's shooting a lot better.
Not the coach, the players. The
veterans.
Shai Alexander's been great. Mikal Bridges looks like an adult. Kevin Knox is just very useful for the Knicks. Like you said, I think he had like 24 points and like 15 rebounds or something.
And it seems as if the Knicks are not a good basketball team, obviously, but they look a lot better when he's playing.
Yeah, and Fizz has done a really good job of making the Knicks like less Knicksy, which is nice. Yeah, they actually look respectable
by Knicks standard.
That's all I got. I'll move on. Let's talk about Allonzo Trier, baby. Allonzo Trier. Second time that he has been the thing I like on this podcast. Signed a 2-year, $7 million contract, team option on the second year on that. Right now, he's scheduled to make as much as that number 12 overall pick, Miles Bridges, is going to make in his first 2 seasons in the NBA.
Hell of a finesse there.
Very impressive. It's a great situation. Two-way contracts, they're pretty controversial around the league. I don't know if
anyone's ever described the Knicks is a great situation, but whatever.
Hey, it's worked out for him though.
Worked out great. This is another great example of the two-way contracts benefit.
Yeah. So the 2 ways have been kind of controversial around the NBA a little bit for a variety of reasons. Some people think that they actually work to hold back potential earnings from players that could sign deals as actual roster players. Others think that it's great that it creates essentially 60 places that make $200,000 a year if you play 45 days on an NBA roster.
Right.
There's give and take to it all. Trier is unquestionably the unmitigated success of all of this. Yeah. So 2 years, $7 million for Allonzo Trier. Good for him. I think that's fantastic. That's about all I got.
Yeah, it's great. I am pro two-way contracts. Obviously, the first go around with this, it's not going to be perfect. Wish it was, but it's not going to be. It'd be interesting to see how the NBA adapts here going forward with these two ways so that it doesn't seem as predatory, which is the allegation thrown against it. But we've seen a couple of guys now across the league turn the two-way, and the opportunity that the two-way provides, which wasn't there before, into real NBA contracts and not just cheap ones or 10 days or anything like that. You're not as much in the laundry cycle of it anymore. You can earn your keep in real time with real, responsibility and playing time. You're not having to just chuck on a 10-day. This is an improvement, and it is reaping benefits already. I can't really necessarily think of the downside for player opportunity yet. Maybe in player finances, but maybe not for player opportunity. And I think it's only going to get better from here as we see more and more success stories. So good for Allonzo Trier, good for a guy like Quinn Cook, good for the NBA making this sort of stuff work and not dicking around with it. And obviously the limit was going to put them up against it. They didn't get weird or anything, but being able to turn somebody that you got for nothing and sign him to a contract that's essentially the 12th pick in the draft with better terms for the player in terms of years is quite an excellent situation for both parties.
That's about all I got, man. What do you got going on?
I'm gonna go take a goddamn nap.
Good for you. It's fantastic. I have to write some things. I've got
you got a job.
I have a job. Yeah, shocking. I have a Christmas party tonight.
I have a Christmas party tonight too.
It's Christmas party season, baby.
Boom. I need to get a full Santa suit for the Christmas Day Warriors-Lakers game.
It's too tall for Santa, man.
Well, no, I could I can be I could be like growth spurt Santa. My mom said she wasn't buying me new clothes. As someone who grew a foot in a calendar year, I can relate.
Does not sound fun to grow a foot in a calendar year.
Yeah, the worst part was I got fatter. Really.
Yeah, that's
quite disappointing.
That is abnormal.
When have you ever known me to be normal?
That's a good point. This has been the Game Theory Podcast. Please remember to rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes. Go read Dieter at the Mercury News. Go subscribe to The Athletic to keep me employed. We'll be back at some point this weekend. Maybe we'll talk college kids. I don't know.
Full-scale basketball.
Yeah, we'll see. Shout out to the microphone stand that Dieter has.
I've been dicking around with it the entire time. It's been really enjoyable.
Good for him.
Little fidget toy.
Until next time, shout out to RXBar and Simple Contacts. We'll talk soon. Bye-bye.